Linux Weekly Daily Wednesdays, where we take that midweek break to cover some of the interesting, fascinating, or downright bizarre things we find going on in the Linux world. And this week, Xfce 4 users can finally kiss Compton goodbye because 4.13 has definitely learned how to OpenGL and ask a question. Has Linux gone mainstream? That Duke boy, he seems to think it has.
And Firefox is due for a redesign, and Mozilla seems to agree. And Microsoft cans Codeplex, and they've now become the company with the single most contributors on GitHub.
And Canonical finally comes to their senses, and in a very wise decision, puts an end to Unity 8. And do you want to play x86 3D games on your Pi? Well, if you're willing to pay for the software, now you can.
That sounds beautiful yet dangerous. Gentlemen, let's just jump right into this Network World article. All this business will be in our show notes. It's kind of fantastic.
Yep.
Lunduk writes, being a Linux user isn't weird anymore. In places normally filled with glowing Apple logos and Windows laptops, Linux users, because he found one in a coffee shop. Note.
No, he found two.
Oh, two.
If you read the article, he found two.
It's a variable cornucopia of Linux users out and about doing the things. Hey, man, yeah, that's kind of cool because once we spot each other in the wild, most of us don't wear insignia or anything. You're like, oh, you run Linux, unless sometimes you're trying to do something, like, you're that guy from that show. And I was like, and you just run off because you don't have time for a conversation or anything like that. No, that's cool. I don't think then again, I don't really spend time in coffee shops because, I'm not paying, £6 for some hot caffeinated water. But Strider, you have some thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think being a Linux user is still considered weird, like for what I would say normal people.
That's a fair assessment.
It probably means that more weird people are going to Starbucks now. And also you can add an extra layer of weirdness because Portland. Yeah.
I was reading the article and I'm like, okay, Brian, when are you going to come to your senses and be a little, self-aware? And then it gets right to the end and he says, this may be anecdotal and it may only really apply to my corner of the world because he's actually close to the Intel 8 HQ. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I guess I don't need to point it out that it is, in fact, anecdotal.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing. I just want to say, with your help, we can make Linux weird again.
No, it's keep Linux weird.
Coming up next, Firefox Photon.
Yes, it's the new Firefox redesign, and they have some mock-ups because everyone's doing mock-ups nowadays. And the fine folks from ghacks.net got a hold of said mock-ups, and they had a look at them. And the very first thing that jumped out at me is, wow, that looks a lot like Chrome for Android. But it uses the new Photon thing that they're working on, the Photon user interface, and they're doing a bunch of new stuff. The About Home has been redesigned to give you sort of the speed dial that you would already get in Chrome. It gives you a bunch of other stuff. Strider, you had some notes.
Yeah, it's not that long ago that they decided to go for a full redesign. Remember that there was this project called Australis. It was released in 2014, I think, with Firefox 29, I think. This is when they introduced like the little like rounded tabs and the hamburger menu with the nifty like icons. So yeah, they're making progress on new stuff, but it's not only visual redesign because this is the new mockups. They should land in Firefox 57 in November, yeah, and they will also get rid of the legacy add-ons for Firefox, and they will be switching to something
except Flash, probably.
Yeah, they will be switch to something called web extensions. So that means probably that we'll see a bunch of currently existing add-ons that won't be continued because, I mean, the people who made these add-ons don't work on them anymore. But, I mean, okay.
I was looking at it, and just with the initial screenshots. Remember that first version of Chrome? Yeah. This looks a lot like the first version of Chrome that came out with non-native window decorations enabled. And
and on the design thing is one thing I like. They finally moved the home button back to the left of the address bar where it should be, and where it should have never left from.
I would even argue I don't use the home button. I mean, my homepage with Chrome is like all the home pages that I normally visit. And it always shows you that one page that you visited that one time, and you're like, whew, good thing nobody else is in the room.
I mean, it saves me from having to type Google. I could just hit the home button. Boom, done.
So, on every Linux show, we should talk about Linux on Windows, right?
Yeah, we have one Windows story this week, and it's about Swan. So Swan, it's basically an improved version of Cygwin, and what it does, it has Cygwin plus Xfce desktop, so you can run a bunch of X11. Linux apps, well, not really Linux because it's still compiled for Win32, but it's apps that were made for X11 and meant to run on Xfce. So, yeah, I'm pretty mixed on that because I think if I had to use Windows, I would go with the Windows subsystem for Linux. So the Windows, Microsoft's own way of doing this.
Yeah, and let's face it, Swan is just a glorified package manager for Cygwin. And if there's one thing Windows users love is having package managers to handle their software. Am I right, Master Cameron?
Man, I don't know. They really act like that's the new sauce. It's like, I can download everything from this one virus-riddled program that I downloaded from an obscure site. It's kind of brilliant. Look at me. Any tool that will help Linux users or Mac brethren, if they're forced in the workplace to use Windows, to help prevent them from going outside and actively playing in traffic to end the pain, I'm good with this. I'm okay with this. So I say the more, the merrier. Unfortunately, can't say anything real good about this next story because OpenShot 2.3 is out. Adding new transform and razor tools. It's a thing. Audio listeners, we were kind of looking at the video, which the transform tool is kind of neat. I did get some images to load. I downloaded the app image of one of the most recent builds, 2.3. Yellow Swag Dorito, and it wouldn't load a video, and I kind of had the sads because I really want to move from this. I'm still using OpenShot 1.4, or as it's known in the video editing world, the crashy one that's still usable. I just really, really, really want 2.0, which was supposed to be done like 3 years ago, to work, but it don't.
I didn't try the app image. I tried the PPA. So I had to install, it's OpenShot-Qt.
Mm-hmm.
This is the one you want to install if you want 2.3. Didn't crash. I could load some videos. Not sure about the visual improvements for this one. I mean, it's using Qt, so it's a bit more powerful now, but don't think I like all the changes. I mean, it looks like it could use a bit more work on the visual side.
Title editors, neat preview windows, huge performance. I want to play around with this. And in all fairness, I'm probably throwing some of the most bizarre, mixed up, complex stuff like these basic video editors shouldn't be able to do that I'm kind of forcing them to do. That could be part of the reason. We don't know. Definitely going to be keeping an eye on it because KDE needs competition, and I know Lightworks came out with a new version, which did. Still waiting on that source from you, Lightworks. Haven't heard anything about that. And two, unless you buy the Pro version, you can only export YouTube quality video. So you can just go die in a fire right there. Something kind of got me off. What is this? IWF1 wrote a little review of Xfce 4.13 desktop environment for cool people who like to do awesome stuff and don't run GNOME or Unity. Really, the big story here, I mean, this is kind of long and drawn out. It's a bit smaller. It says that. That's definitely a thing. But here it is. Eliminate screen tearing. That's right. Xfce can finally OpenGL, bro. You can kiss Compton goodbye, and it's a bit of awesome, or so I hear, because I'm not brave enough to install 0.13. It works?
It works. I tried it. It works. They finally, after years and years of every other single desktop environment in Compton, that teeny tiny compositing manager that you can run on top of your window manager, they finally have GLX compositing working properly. And yes, you can even disable sync to VBlank and not get any tearing. Finally.
Yeah, that's cool. But for me, the real new stuff that I really like is called XF Dashboard. So this is one of the things.
Oh, it's the GNOME Xfce thing.
Yes, this is one of the things that I missed from GNOME when I'm using Xfce, and it gives you like this expose mode where you can see all the windows on your screen at the same time, and lets you switch windows really quickly. So this is one of the reasons why I like GNOME Shell.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. I hate to pause you. I just get to the second page. Okay, deal breaking is the thumbnails are too small.
No, he does actually bring up a good point with that one.
It's either Alt or Control scroll wheel. They embed in small and automatic.
No, he goes a bit further on than that, because that's one of the things that Xfce still very much fails at. It's the file manager, Thunar. It's very, very bare bones. Now, it does everything a file manager actually needs to do. But let's say, yes, that one. But let's say you want to have per folder specific settings. Yeah. Per folder specific settings, like if you have an image folder, you want the thumbnails on so you can see what the pictures are. If you have like the documents folder, you want to have teeny tiny icons so you can see as many as possible at once. Or say you want them ordered in a different direction. Well, Thunar doesn't let you do that because it always applies those settings globally. And that issue I will let Strider talk about.
There is one issue that it remains for this version of Xfce, which is like my biggest gripe with Xfce is that they have this on most themes. You have this 1 pixel resize border, so it's really hard to resize windows. Like if you're not using the Alt plus drag shortcuts, it's really hard to move around and resize windows, mostly on laptops, because when you're using the trackpad, and it's still there, they still haven't fixed this. And they always say, okay, this is specific to this team and this team. But no, it's not true, because I don't have this problem on KDE or GNOME or anything else. It's only on Xfce.
Probably because the theme makers didn't actually account for Xfce, so yeah.
I don't know. I just say that's what you get for wanting your desktop to be pretty versus functional. My desktop is in the business of giving the business, and that business is good.
Since we were talking about Xfce, let's talk about some KDE to even things out, because this is the Latte dock. Yep, it is a dock that you can use that includes many of the Plasma features already available in KDE, and it integrates decently or reasonably well with your desktop. It's got all of the pretties, everything that you expect if you are a recent macOS convert, and you want a fancy dock that can do all the fancy things that you're used to.
This looks so horrifying.
You can do it. Now, my question is, why? The KDE panel on its own, it's pretty powerful. You could just make a new panel, make it work like a dock. You can do that. It
like
has...
a dock, but not a real dock. So this one is a real dock. It looks really pretty. And if I'm ever going back to KDE, I am using this. I mean, because usually I install KDE and I will end up installing Plank or Docky. So I guess I have to do it because it's a real dock. I mean, it looks nicer. It has like an actual dock functionality.
I mean, you don't have to ask Strider why. It's because it's his way. Therefore, vicariously, it's the right way.
I mean, it's my way.
Even Windows 7's panel, since we already talked about Windows 7's panel was a great dock, as it were, because it kept all the neat little icons and all the windows were really neatly contained.
Hey, I guess we should point out you can add this pretty easily with the PPA if you're on the Ubuntu. So, I mean, it's something you can pop in and try out, man. Yeah, go ahead. Just do it to make Pedro even more angry. But speaking of like new users.
Indeed, if you are a new user and let's say you have a recent-ish enough system and you need some of that hardware support, but you're not getting it because, let's face it, the kernel version in Ubuntu is really, really old, and you'd like to upgrade just that because the rest of the system is actually working for you. Well, you can do it with a GUI. You could already do it with, Googling and using the terminal, but now there's a neat little GUI, and it's called Uku. However you say that.
Smile when you call me that.
That's not. It's the it's a weird name, but it does what it sets out to do. It gives you like mainstream LTS and the unstable release candidate versions of the kernels, and you can pick one until you find one that works for you. And it also lets you remove old versions if you want to save, if you have a limited size boot partition and Ubuntu is not doing its job cleaning it up for you, you can do it yourself. So that's neat.
I find this very neat because I don't think it's only for new users or people who don't want to use it.
You're 100% correct, because it also doubles for lazy users like me. I looked at that and I was like, that's going to save me some time.
Yeah, and I'm a very lazy user myself. It can be useful for people who have current gen laptops where you want to basically run the latest kernel because it will have support for all the new hardware. So it will give you notifications when a kernel is released. Other than that, it's pretty much a UI for the mainline kernel PPA, which is not a PPA, but whatever. From
it's
Ubuntu.
An actual repo.
Usually I just download the deb files and install them manually. But having that made fully automatic and with notifications, with the possibility to revert kernels and all that stuff, very neat, very cool.
Hey, Strider, hey man, I heard you're I'm about to tell a joke that's going to make Fedora users laugh.
So the Snap team are looking for testers to test Snap on Fedora.
Good luck with that.
I mean, why not? Snap is meant to run anywhere. So the thing is Snap is more or less Red Hat and more or less GNOME as well. So it means that they're pretty tied to Flatpaks.
I don't know. I'm just more amused because this command will never be run.
I'm sure some people will run it, and I'm sure.
Pretty sure Jordan's writhing in pain right now just thinking about it.
Hey man, it's a thing. We just wanted to mention it. Get back to us. Send us some feedback. I mean, maybe you got a box you don't particularly like, and see how it works. Maybe it's a great thing. Maybe it's sliced bread version 2.0. We would like to know. And again, show notes, go check it out. If you're watching this on YouTube or anything, there'll be a link in the description, or if you're on the web zone, scroll down. Now,
last Microsoft story of the show, we promise. Okay, this is a good thing actually, because they said that Codeplex is dying, Codeplex is gone, it's dead. And yep, they're starting to move everything. Oh, they already started moving everything over to GitHub. and all of the all people who had projects on Codeplex, the two of them that anyone actually cares about, they have been asked to move everything over to GitHub, and there's a neat little tutorial on how you can migrate everything. Good on you, Microsoft. And the Brian Harry, the person who was basically running...
Did you just say good on you, Microsoft?
Yeah.
You're fired.
Because they're using Linux. They're using more Linux stuff.
They're
and
using
it's
more Linux
good.
And more.
That's a good thing.
It is a very good thing. I mean, almost no project that I use is on Codeplex. The only one I know of is PCSXR, the PlayStation emulator, which is mostly unmaintained now. So either that move will kill the project or it will revive it, because I guess that most people wouldn't want to contribute it, partly because it was on Codeplex. So one last thing I would note is I know that ugly fonts are the norm on Windows and stuff, but how did they manage to get ugly fonts halfway to the blog
No,
post?
it's great. It's half the article is serifed and the rest of the article isn't. It's great.
Yeah, and it's all like aliased and ugly locking.
Listen, man. All you gotta do is just go Microsoft and just drop the mic and walk off, and you're done with that.
Times New Roman. Now
You're
we're
completely
using
done with it,
Times
much
New
like
Roman.
Canonical is with Unity.
Yeah, so that might be the biggest news of the week. With Unity is no more. The Canonical has decided to refocus what they're working on and said, okay, we're done with Unity 8. And I think this means Mirror as well, because they wouldn't have a reason to keep
the
it.
speculation, yeah.
Yeah. So no more like conversions, no more Ubuntu phone, no more Unity 8, and they will focus on the cloud stuff like OpenStack and IoT things. They will still work on snaps because that's their main IoT technology. But yeah, I mean, starting with Ubuntu 18.04, it will ship with the GNOME desktop.
Again.
That is huge news. Again, yes.
It goes around in circles, doesn't it, Canonical? Oh no, GNOME 2, it's old. We don't like GNOME 3, so we're going to make a complete rip-off of it and call it Unity instead. That was a good idea, wasn't it? Well, what's that?
To me, the most important thing was, Strider was like, big story. I kind of looked at it, and it's like, did anyone not see this like coming back in whenever Mirror was? Because I remember building Mirror from source before PPAs were a thing, because they're like, this is going to be revolutionary. And I finally, spent. Yeah, that's what I meant. You know what I meant. Shut up. Get it up and running. It was like, oh, this is rubbish. Let's never talk of this again. And one of our favorite things, because Strider's been like, yeah, it's lit, all right, it's okay. And I was like, there's going to be those people that were defending it. And it was like, yeah, it's okay. And like, as soon as this, they're like, yeah, I'm glad it's gone, man. I'm really glad it's gone.
Yeah, no, it's and since they don't really have a desktop environment which will justify continued development on Mir, and if they wanted to, they'd have to go in and rewrite Unity 7 so it would work with Wayland. Yeah, no, I don't see Mir sticking around.
Well, on Mirror side, Strider, I want to get your thoughts on this. Now that Unity 8's going to die, is that going to pretty much mean that Unity 7's dead on the vine and outside of like maintenance updates, or? Unity
7 was meant to go away. It was meant to be replaced with Unity 8, but Unity 8 was not going anywhere. I mean, I was looking at those videos and said, okay, I don't want to use this. This looks like some kind of bastard between a desktop OS and a mobile OS. And it seems to take away the features I could do on my desktop and replace them with mobile stuff, which I didn't want. I wanted to have my desktop OS like kept the way it was. And I was okay with Unity 7. I've used Unity 7. At first, I think it wasn't Unity 7. I think it was Unity, like the first versions, like maybe 4 or 5. I don't know. Those were pretty bad. Unity needed to mature. And then it reached that point where Unity 7 was quite good, but it still had issues. So that was the reason I switched back to GNOME Shell, because of all the display issues I was having with Unity. Unity 7, I still like it.
And now Canonical goes to GNOME as well.
It's going to be beautiful,
wasted effort.
It's kind of going to wrap up our news. Before we jump out of here, we want to take a hot second to thank the 100 lovely party Patreons helping fund this show.
Hey, we're back!
It's completely user-funded, and they said you can't do it. Every single cent we get goes directly back into the show, and with those 100 people kicking us 179 wet, stinky cashes per Saturday night train wreck. This show is and was a Patreon goal. Thank you, every single one. Pedro, do we have any special people to thank on our trip to 200 so we can punish Jordan?
Yes, we do. Mr. Jake Strychek, he apparently wanted some of that sweet, sweet Discord, and now he has it. Thank you very
I probably need to say that. Yeah. I said we were talking about broadband penetration in our Discord chat for Patreons. Broadband penetration and space friends with a bunch of, a couple of French listeners. And I posted like, sometimes I learn things, put it in the G+. And Jake's like, hey, okay, give me some of that Patreon stuff. And honestly, I thought you were already a Patreon man, so I just sent you the link. And apparently he was like, oh, he just signed up, 4 quarters, 16 quarters. Whee! Yeah, a month. Boom. In there, we got some bots. If you're watching, everything's there. It's kind of great. And it's basically everyone that you already know, but it's where they hang out the rest of the week instead of our IRC chat. And if you're already a Patreon, just do a search and you'll find the link to our Discord. It's kind of brilliant, but yeah.
We also have Mr. Adamu, who upped this pledge, thank you very much, and Robert K. kicked over a few shekels using the PayPal donate buttons, which we also happen to have. And we have Amazon affiliate links too. If you're doing your purchases online, you can do that. There's UK, US, Canada, and France. Or say you'd like to contribute directly to us, but without, giving us money. There's an Amazon wish list there. That's all stuff that Fen can use to do the things, make the magic happen, as it were, giggity. So if you'd like to do that, we appreciate that one as well.
Okay, now how about a little slice of pie, gentlemen?
Yeah, just a tiny slice of pie. So you may know about Xfce Desktop. Xfce Desktop is an emulator for x86 for the Raspberry Pi and a bunch of other devices. What it does, it allows you to run x86 binaries on ARM. And they released a new version which has OpenGL support. So basically what it means...
Okay, help me out. I'm watching this video right now, and is this just somebody who doesn't know how to capture, brah, or is this how fast this thing runs on a Pi?
It probably
if he's capturing directly on the Pi, that's not bad.
It's probably running on the Pi, and it's still a pretty limited machine, but it runs okay. So you can run like games like Counter-Strike or Diablo 2, and I think you can run pretty much any game that was released before the year 2000. Mostly.
It is very much a wine VM, as it were. Now,
not necessarily wine. I mean, it is perfectly capable of running Linux stuff.
Yeah, it can run Linux stuff, and it can also run Windows stuff. Like if you were using an actual Linux system, whatever. The thing is, I was reading the post, and they said, as a result, you can now run modern 3D games such as Open Arena and Minecraft. We have different definitions of modern.
Yeah, I mean, given the hardware you're working with, that's already pretty good. So the one thing to note is that they support a bunch of boards for the Xfce desktop. But right now, only the Raspberry Pi is supported because this was made possible because the Raspberry Pi developers, they added OpenGL support for their drivers. And the other boards, like I think there's the Banana Pi or...
There's definitely a bunch of things to play with. Very neat project, kind of a short thing on Pis, not a whole lot going on. Raspberry Pi is an awesome piece of kit. I remember way back when with the Pi 1, and the foundation was like, hey, you get a bite-sized Snickers if you can get OpenGL and Quake up and running on this. And it was like 20 seconds later, and it's like, poof, here it is. Give me those Snickers. That's a thing, but we're done talking to you. We would love for you to talk back to us, and how can you do that? You just go over to linuxgamecast.com, you hit the contact button, select Linux Weekly, Daily, Wednesdays, LWDW, send us a note. We'll get to it if it's pretty awesome. And, kind of batting 1,000. Most of them are pretty awesome. You will be on the show and we will tell you things. What do we got coming up first, baby?
Well, first we have Mr. Curvern Anthony. And he says, fuck. You're still on, you're on 2017, dude. Get... open parentheses, on apt-get, close parentheses, aren't necessary. Just sudo apt install, exclamation mark.
See, I thought he was going for like Xfce on the, now you're wondering, what is this from? Well, I made a little video a couple of weeks back about getting DaVinci just installed. I didn't say anything like works great or is functional. I said it installs on Ubuntu, the Ubuntu 16.04 NUP. And listen, okay, yeah, I get it. I tend to type apt-get. Guess what? Finger memory. Braid knows. He's like, you don't have to type all that out. And I was like, tell that to my fingers. They don't obey me. And I'm sorry. I mean, the lead speak in this, dude, even when I was his age, these fingers have been typing those commands probably longer than this person have been alive. But it doesn't hurt anything. But Strider's going to tell me while I'm completely wrong.
No, you're not wrong, because apt is meant to be for a replacement for end users for the basic stuff. So it's a stripped down version of apt-get and apt-cache. And I do use apt a lot. But if you need stuff like more advanced stuff like apt-get, build dep, or source, or running apt-cache policy, or rdpens, or show src, and yeah, I mean, those are pretty advanced stuff, and you can only get those with the traditional apt-get and apt-cache because they're not available in apt. So apt is not a full replacement for those tools. So
yeah, for most end users, apt is fine. All right, up
fine.
next.
Well, at the end of the day, I'm just going to start using aptitude and just piss everyone off. That's it.
Okay, up next we have Mr. Josh Blagden. I noticed that in that Debian comment I made a couple of weeks ago, I made a typo. I meant to say meta packaging. Oh, the iStuff package installing iStuff. Yes.
Why don't you tell the lovely people what this is in reference to? It might make
this is in reference to, well, the original story was about Thunderbird now being available for Debian, and then Josh sent a little bit of feedback saying that he tried to install Thunderbird on Debian SID, if I'm not mistaken, and he couldn't do it, so he asked exactly how you could do it. But he also made a little bit of a typo because he said that he wanted, by installing the iStuff package, he was still getting iStuff. And we were saying, yes, that was very much the thing. But that was apparently a typo, and he meant to say meta packaging in there somewhere. But that's fine. And he continues, but regardless, I appreciate the help. I'll implement that solution when I get home. It'll be nice to use the real Thunderbird instead of Debian's weird fork. I'll just go about it that way instead of installing Debian SID. Oh, okay, so he's running Debian Jessie. Right. I'm having enough issues getting Clementine to play ALAC file, so I'd rather not try SID. ALAC file?
Don't worry, it will be okay. Debian SID will play your ALAC file just fine. Just do it. Do it.
What's an ALAC file, Strider?
It's some kind of lossless format like FLAC.
A FLAC file. Okay, I get it.
ALAC on it. It's the equivalent of like when I send you something in a bizarre compression format, just to make you like Google search, and I know that most people have to.
Okay, basically it's a Apple version of FLAC.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying no one cares. All right, coming up next. Broken.
Up next, Unix.
Go for it.
Unix.
You got it.
Yeah, Unix says, well, I can detect a bit of sarcasm emanating from this one. I am writing this words without seeing it myself because Xfce is my DE. Also, I'm scared if I can even come to the end of my comment before my system breaks because Arch Linux is my OS. But the thing I really fear the most is my file system, which is BTRFS, and it is built to explode. Strider will tell you. How can I run a YouTube channel on such a wacky system? KDN Live is using Melt for playback, which uses only one thread. That's why it can't play back my 4K footage. Shotcut can, which ships with its own version of Melt and uses all 16 threads of my new, soon terrible, broken Ryzen Arch Linux workstation. You tried, man. You did, but you failed.
No, I mean, I'd give that like 2 chairs with an Astro, maybe.
That was a 1-chair Monster Cam Red attempt because, and here's why. No, the BTRFS thing, I agree. Just ask Strider. But we didn't say anything about playing back hardware accelerated videos. My question was specifically whether or not KDN Live could encode on multiple threads. You didn't answer that, but yes, it can. I've since learned that. Yeah.
KDN Live can encode with several threads. But
precisely.
You know what? Running Xfce on Arch with BTRFS on an AMD Ryzen, that has a name. It's called asking for trouble.
You just basically drew out my entire Ryzen build, son.
Also, I don't think I remember any of us ever saying that KDE was a broken desktop or busted.
Oh, I have several times. It's fugly and slow. Send your hate mail.
No, that was Strider.
No,
Again, that was Strider.
It's not. I mean, it's not ugly and it's not slow.
You know what?
Right.
I think that's going to put a bow in it. It's been real, everyone. We've enjoyed it. Thanks for stopping by. Come check us out next week. Come check us out on Saturdays where, you think this show's like, oh, this is a bit edgy. You haven't seen anything yet. We look forward to seeing you. I'm Ben Stone. You can always find me at Ben Stone on the TwitterNet thing. I will try to get back to you and maybe click a heart button or 3 plus Ben Stone on that G plus thing. Tell everyone it's a ghost town. We like our peace and quiet there.
Yeah, no, someone's writing an article about Google Plus. Say you don't use it. Don't just stay away. I am Pedro Mateos. If you do use Google Plus, whatever reason, I am plus Pedro Mateos there. If you are on Twitter, please give me a follow. I'll probably follow you right back. I'm at unaccounted for over there.
And I'm at Striker on Twitter, where I don't post that much, but you can find me on Google plus Mathieu Commandant, where I post a lot more. So go there instead.
Hey, man, what's that ridiculous poster in the background all about?
It's called Lutris. It's a gaming platform on
I thought Linux. It was dead.
And I make it, yes. No, it's not yet. It's still going strong.
Like us. And again, we'll be back next week. Thanks for everyone for supporting the show. And it's going to be awesome. We'll see you in our Discord chat during the week. If you want to come scream at us there, we're all hanging out. Bye-bye.
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 Wave. Okay.
Okay.